What's up? This is Nick, Commissioner of the Pokemon Battle League, and you're joining me today for our Week 9 feature match between the Safari Zone Weedles and the Saffron City Sneasels. We got a big matchup here. A records of 6-2, our current leader, the Sneasels, against the Weedles, sitting at 4-4, but as always, a very fierce competitor. So we will see in just a moment. Making sure I get invited to the match. So waiting on our competitors to shoot me an invite. And we will see this battle. So yeah, it should be a good one. We do have our dual weather team with the Weedles having a sand team between Jigglyth and Excadrill, and a rain team with Fat Lip by some 41, the Pelipper and Ludicolo, as well as the big bad Vish himself, Dracovish, versus the team with a lot of controversial picks in Aegislash, and he's also got some big speed. It's not very controversial because it's tier 3 Mega, but Mega Sceptile, so he's got a good amount of speed there, but also Grimmsnarl, and the big bad Colossal, his team champion right now, as this thing eats all the hits. As we've seen, it takes on Mew and other such things. So there we go. We've got that battle invite. Let's hop right on in here. So there we go. We do see the big Vish and the Pelipper, but we do see Rotom Fridge showing up, and we do have Arctovish freshly picked up by the Sneasels also showing up to handle the Vish. So the battle of the Vishes. Let's get down to it. Battle away. But we do have the Revenge Killer with Doug Trio. And Aegislash definitely is going to want to run King Shield this match. I would be actually surprised if he wasn't running it, just because King Shield will be insanely good to stop Dracovish. He'll hit, if he's banded or scarfed, he will hit into it, lose a stage of attack, and then he's forced to switch out because his attack will be low, and there won't be much that he can do, especially if it is locked in with a choice item. So I think we're going to see a lot of King Shield this match between the Scizor, the Dracovish, and the Beedrill. Big physical attackers. Maybe might even hit off of some U-turns off of Pelipper if she's running it. But yeah, this will be an interesting one to see. Once they kick it off, we do have Big Bad Torn, so there's a whole lot of U-turn ability on this whole match. So you think about 4 Pokemon total who definitely don't mind it. Okay, we do have the Galaxy Brain coming about against Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, who's sitting way off to the side because them smokestacks is so big, like Galaxy Brain's brain. Alright. It does see the Black Sludge off of the Frisk, and Grimmsnarl is going to come out, and we don't see Frisk on that. So what that means it is, yep, and we see with that move right there, it is running Prankster for that priority. So we do have a U-turn come out. So as I said, a lot of U-turns. So we do have the potential for 5 U-turners in this match, I believe, and a Volt Switch. Yeah, so there's potential for a lot of switching around this match, which is probably very smart on the side of Cheryl with a Trapper like Doug Trio over there. Beedrill can U-turn, and as long as it's not Choice Scarfed, he can outspeed it and get away from it. It will likely be Choice Scarfed. Probably not Focus Sash, just because the possibility of hazards. Beedrill does come out. Dimple will be able to get a priority Reflect off here if he's running dual screens. So definitely take less damage, but Evan may just go for the hard switch into Aegislash to eat a possible Poison Jab, because I'm pretty sure... actually, it'll probably survive it through. Okay, G-Weezing comes out. It will take neutral damage from a possible Poison Jab. Okay, it does go for the U-turn. So as like I said, probably a lot of switching out just to deal with that threat that is Doug Trio, because you do not want to get stuck in against that. She's got... I mean, I guess most of her team doesn't mind too much. Pelipper doesn't get stuck, neither does Rotom, but the rest of her team gets stuck, but the only one who can't really get revenge killed too easily, or who can get revenge killed pretty easily, is Dracovish. Otherwise, Scizor is going to be able to take Earthquakes. Galaxy Brain, the Orbeetle, it'll definitely be able to take Earthquakes as well. Beedrill doesn't like them, so it's probably going to U-turn until that Dugtrio is gone from the match. So we do see this matchup again between Galaxy Brain and Doug Dimmadome. But we will see what she goes for this time. Last time she set up a light screen before being taunted. Gets that Black Sludge again, switch out. It's the same matchup. And now a Reflect is up. So it is dual screens on both sides of the match. I wonder if somebody's going to be running Haze, or not Haze, if somebody's going to be running Defog. Maybe Brick Break. No. Maybe Beedrill can learn Brick Break. That wouldn't be a bad Brick Break user. So yeah, we got big dual screens all over the field, both sides set up. A whole lot of them. And it is looking like Light Clay from Galaxy Brain, seeing as that Reflect is still up there and has 3 turns left. So we got a big Light Clay. In the chat, it asked, how am I getting my haircuts? Well, I got a haircut because we have clippers. And that's why my hair is so short. Because it's easy to just clip it all off. There's your answer, chat. But we'll see after that U-turn what the play is. Who switching in what? So yeah, with these dual screens in play, a lot of things can't really do the damage that they like to do. So Dracovish, if there wasn't the threat of Arctovish's Water Absorb on the other side, it's got not, like, even without that, things might be able to survive that if they're defensively built. So I could see behind a Reflect, I could see a Wheezing surviving a hit. Maybe 2 if it's fully defense, so it can maybe get a burn off. Aegislash, if it's in defense form, it can probably get that off. Taunted, and he cannot use his Swords Dance, so that's unfortunate for her. But we do see, since it's Swords Dance, this is not a Choice Banded set unless Cheryl's being real funky with it. So, ooh, Darkest Lariat, gonna do a little bit of damage, not much. Knockoff does go and gets rid of the Light Clay, so we'd have dual Light Clay from the teams. But now there is no more for Dimple the Grimmsnarl, so that means only 5 turns of dual screens. And in essence, if you want 2 screens up, at most 4 of one and 5 of the other. So you do have some reduction in walling ability there. Big Meaty Claw's probably going to U-turn here, I would bet. Might just go for a Bullet Punch just to get some chip damage on Dimple. Its Reflect will run out at this point, I think, in 5 more turns, so it does have a while. And yes, that is, we do have a celebrity in the chat, everybody. Say hello to Just Another Jake from the world-famous, award-winning Third Rate podcast. You can catch it on Stitcher and whatever other podcast platforms they put it on. See? I'm promoting. Now you guys have to sponsor us. Give me like $2 and you guys are good. Alright, G-Weezy does come back out, which is an interesting choice into this Bullet Punch, but behind the Reflect it does not do all that much damage. Especially with the chance of Flamethrower coming out of this Galarian Weezing or a Will-O-Wisp. I can definitely see the Scizor leaving here. It does not want to be hit by a fire attack. It does not want to be burned, because that makes it either dead or burned, and it does not like either of those. It likes to be very much alive and very much not burned. So we will, depending on speed tiers, we might see a U-turn out of Big Meaty Claws, or we might just see a hard switch. Probably into Galaxy Brain, maybe into Pelipper. I mean, I guess also possibly into Rotom, because those 3 don't really mind being burned, because that's not really what they're about. They're not really those big physical attackers, but nobody likes really being burned, especially if they have leftovers. They don't like taking that reduction in healing at the end of every turn down to 0. So nobody wants to get burned on this. Flamethrower, I guess Rotom doesn't want to switch into Flamethrower, neither does Orbeetle, so I would say it's likely that we might get a Pelipper to switch in right here. just because unless she's going for the big brain predict on a possible flamethrower and brings in the 4 times resisted Dracovish, since he is Water Dragon, he does not care too much about fire attacks. His special defense isn't amazing, but still, when you're only taking quarter damage, you probably don't care all that much. But players being real long thinkers here. We get a whole lot. Huh? Get it. I'm being asked about food. There we go, we do get a switch, and it is the Will-O-Wisp like I predicted, so good she did not try and get smart and bring in the Dracovish, because he would very much not like being burnt. Galaxy Brain, although it is U-turning, it's shown dual screens and U-turn, so unless it has a coverage move in a special attack, I highly doubt it cares about being burned. It will chip it down slowly, since we know it has Light Clay, it does not have leftovers. And she's not really learning much with her frisks, because every time it's coming out it is against this, and we are seeing the black sludge pop every time. Tornadus does come out, U-turn does 1%. Between a reflect and being burned, it's not going to do all that much. And now Rotom Frost, it's a refrigerator, comes in. So not a great place for Bird to be in. It does not want to get hit by a Blizzard, but in all reality, Blizzard's not going to do... I mean, it's not horribly horrifying, but we likely also... yeah, depending on what Cheryl predicts, she might go for the Volt Switch. There is the Dugtrio on the other side, but I think it's a decent risk to take. She can't be trapped by it, so she can hard switch out into Pelipper if she thinks she's going to be Earthquaked, or Orbeetle to resist it, to set up more screens. So this is a Pokemon that can't be trapped. I don't think she is horribly worried about it. She might just go for the Volt Switch just to possibly hit a non-light screened Tornadus for a nice chunk of damage, even though it can just U-turn, since it's not really going to throw out any flying attacks. It may go for a knockoff. That is an option, which Cheryl's team won't like. Nobody really likes getting their item knocked off. Beedrill could come in at, but there's that risk of also getting hit with a flying attack on a prediction, so I doubt it's going to come in. And also, it doesn't like taking physical attacks. It can take some special attacks, as we saw a few weeks back. It did take a Draco Meteor. What's the matter, Turner? Yeah, this is a Pokemon Stadium time. And we do get a hard switch into Grimmsnarl, so we are going to get some more screens up. Likely a light screen right now, because Fat Lip by Sum41 likes to throw down some Hurricanes, like to throw down some Scalds. Both of those are very much helped by its Drizzle ability. And Dimple, although it is pretty solid defensively, it's not going to like to take those. And we know it's not AV. The light screen does go up, no burn does go off. So I think she might stay in and go for that again. Unless maybe she goes for the Hurricane if she tries to predict that Arctovish switch in, but I don't think Evan really wants to bring that in. I think he might keep Grimmsnarl in here, set up another Reflect so it can have more screens, although they are only for 5 turns. Does bring in the Tornadus, and a U-turn does come off, so Cheryl is keeping that momentum going. She has a lot of switching moves on her team this week, which does make sense, because there is the trapping ability from Dugtrio, so she wants to be able to keep her momentum up and bring in things to kind of counter his team. And we do get Rotom Frost in again. There is a light screen up, so even if it does throw down Volt Switches, or, I mean, maybe with the rain up, she might even have brought Thunder instead of something more common like Thunderbolt. So that's definitely... Ooh, the Blizzard does miss, and Knockoff does come out, and is going to knock off its Choice Scarf. So that was likely there to keep things like this Tornadus in check. And a Superpower does come out, and crits to get the KO. I don't think it really mattered because it was super effective. But that definitely does not put Cheryl in a great place. In the chat, Evan is saying, didn't matter. Said, it depends on the build of it. Seeing as it was a Choice Scarf, I'm assuming that was more special attack and speed on that Rotom. So I don't think it would have mattered. I think the crit would have KO'd. Or without a crit, it would have KO'd anyway. And the big DB does come out. Yeah, the miss probably was significant. I don't think it would have KO'd. It would have done a nice chunk of damage since it was just a choice scarf, not something like choice specs. And behind a light screen, we're looking at maybe 50 to 60% depending on the build of the Rotom. But we will see. Big D, B right now. With drop defenses, I think this is a pretty free knockoff. I would guess. Just because, I mean, that's pretty free because if Dugtrio does try and come into Trap, and it does come into a knockoff, it's not going to like that one bit. No, a U-turn. So she's really leaning into that that switching, that pivoting ability. But it's really now, she's kind of in a hard spot because she knows she can't just bring in Scizor because it could get burned. And since Arctovish is just sitting in the back waiting for Dracovish, it's another situation where she can't just keep that going. So she's going to have to make some type of risk here to try and get rid of this because it's stopping her team pretty hard. If she had gone for a poison jab, it might have... I mean, it probably would have done a nice chunk of damage and killed, but you don't always go with the right move, so we'll see where it goes from here. Both of them definitely taking a whole lot of time to think through their turns. Nobody wants to make a snap decision. So, and the big Vish does come in. So we will see if maybe we might get something like a Psychic Fangs. But at the same time, I think she has to go for the Fishious Rend. Because if she doesn't go for it, I don't know if Psychic Fangs kills a fully defensive Galarian Weezing. So that is a problem for her. So she's definitely kind of being held back by the possibility of Arctovish just coming in. Hard switches into Pelipper. So he is probably predicting that he would survive an attack from Dracovish. And things seem a little bit wonky on Showdown right now because we didn't get rain to come up. So I'm a little confused by that. That's kind of weird because we did see it earlier in the match when it came in. Its drizzle did trigger. Oh, neutralizing gas. That's it. I did not realize it would... I guess it is an entire field effect. It is not an effect of ground-based foes like things with terrain. So I've not really seen this ability in action too often. So that is interesting to see how it does work mechanically. So it does stop Pokemon even if they are flying type, and I'm assuming levitators as well. So the orb comes in, does get hit by the strange steam, doesn't care all that much, but since it does not have leftovers, it is now taking burn damage as well, and its health is slowly going away. And if Galaxy Brain does not have a coverage move with Psychic or something, Dimmadome can kind of just sit here. Evan knows that she's got screens on this, she's got U-turn on this, so she can set those up and keep them up for several turns, but it is kind of a rough spot. Yeah, her answer for a Galarian Weezing is Dracovish, but with the possibility of Arctovish coming in, it's not really free to do anything. We do get a light screen up, even though we have seen that this is a possibly fully physical Tornadus, so it doesn't really care about light screen. It does care about reflects, but it really depends what's going on here. So it really looks like Evan is kind of keeping an edge on. He's only brought out half of his team, and he's already taken out one Pokemon on her team. And Cheryl has had a really rough time gaining any ground on this one, because she's kind of been kept on the back foot all the time because she can't just bring out Dracovish and just throw down Fishious Rends because Arctovish could come out. If she does have Stone Edge on it, if it's a choice Scarfed Dracovish, I don't think Stone Edge, I mean, it might 2-hit KO, would definitely with at least one of them critting, but it's a tough situation. You can't always lean on a crit unless you're running like Super Luck and a crit boosting item, so that's definitely a rough spot for her to be in, that one of her biggest attackers. So I think number 2 with KOs in the league is really being held back by that Water Absorb. If that last turn she had just gone for the Rend just to see, well, worst case scenario, it comes in, I don't do any damage, and then I can switch out, she might have been in a better position. Because that would almost certainly kill the Wheezing, because, I mean, Fish's Rend, unless you take very little damage from it, you're really not surviving it. Most things, if you're taking neutral damage, you're not surviving it unless you've got a Reflect in front of your face or anything like that. So she's in a really rough spot. I think she needs to be a little more aggressive. I think so far she's been playing it safe, keeping the turning moves going, setting up screens, but I think she really needs to start reaching a point where she actually just throws out the big offensive moves, takes that risk. Because in cases like if she had thrown out a Poison Jab against the Tornadus, or a knockoff against the Tornadus, and then Galarian Weezing had come in, she might have been able to finish it off with a Poison Jab if the first Poison Jab hadn't already killed the Weezing. When it was Dracovish versus Galarian Weezing again, if she had gone for the Fish's Rend and just taken that risk, it probably would have killed it, and Galarian Weezing would have been off the field. So at this point, yeah, I think she's gotta start throwing out more offensive moves, stop playing so safe, because it's definitely keeping her on the back burner this whole time. Knockoff does come out and does get rid of the heavy duty boots, which I don't think really matter in this fight, just because Evan really doesn't have anything to set up hazards, and yeah, nothing to set up stealth rocks, so any other hazards would be ignored. So Pelipper kind of didn't need the boots. I understand why it's there, so that you can keep bringing that in, cycling it out, and not getting hurt by stealth rocks. A screen does go away, a Scald does come out, does a decent amount of damage, does not get the burn though, which is unfortunate. That would have been very nice, especially if this is more of a physical attacking one. And the Hurricane does take out the rain, so Cheryl is officially on a timer for her rain. It is not a great position to be in. Dracovish loves that rain boost. It's a tough spot to be in. Evan is definitely holding down the fort on this one. I think him playing safe has gone a little better for him than it has for Cheryl. Clearly, he's up 2-0 right now. But we'll see. She still has huge offensive potential between Beedrill and Dracovish, but the problem is with a Steel type and a Water Absorber, some of their biggest attacks are really held back. Yeah, Dugtrio there to trap things is definitely a problem. I can see why she hasn't been super offensive, because if that Dugtrio can come in to revenge kill, so I think this is a good time for her to go for a knockoff. Or Poison Jab. Poison Jab, there we go. Wow! This is an insanely defensive Dimmadome. That thing took... Oh no, Neutralizing Gas. That means no adaptability. So it is not getting that extra boost on its stab moves. U-turn makes sense. But again, not doing that much damage because no adaptability, and it is resisted. So Will-O-Wisp does not do anything, so that Neutralizing Gas is huge this match, which now makes me realize there's probably a reason Cheryl did not go for the Fish's Rend. Without a Strong Jaw boost, that may not have KO'd it. So Neutralizing Gas is showing to be a humongous ability in this match, stopping a whole lot of damage boosting. We get Tornadus to come back in again. It can throw down a Hurricane here. As we have seen now, it is a mixed attacker. I think the superpower was probably mostly to deal with the Rotom. But now that is gone, she doesn't really care. She can just, or the bird, not she, can just go for those special attacks. Especially right here, a Hurricane is a pretty clean pick. No one really wants to switch into it. But this one is definitely taking a huge swing in the side of Evan, because Neutralizing Gas stops a whole lot of stuff from going. He may not even need to bring out the Arctovish. Cheryl has a very uphill battle right now. Does take it, does not get confused, does get the Reflect up, but is now in the danger zone health-wise with only 15% remaining. So Galaxy Brain is not going to be able to do too much else. If he goes for a Hurricane and misses, she can get a light screen up and then have a little bit of stuff to work with, but Yeah, it's a rough spot for Cheryl to be in. She's on the verge of losing a third Pokemon and cannot freely use any attacks because poison attacks can be eaten by Aegislash. Fish's Friends can be eaten by Arctovish. She's just in a horribly stuck spot where she's got to get a KO and get rid of one of these walls that's just stopping her team. Neutralizing Gas will also mean no boosted bullet punches out of Scizor. So she is in such a rough spot, and Knockoff does come out. That will pick up the KO. It is now 3-0. Yeah, Cheryl's in a rough spot. Scizor cannot throw out those bullet punches for extra damage against Weezing, so instead of being the 60 base power that it likes, it's only going to end up being 40 base power, as it is the standard base power for the move. Beedrill comes out here. It could go for Poison Jab. It might kill. Yes, the Scizor is Swords Dance. We did see that earlier. A Knockoff here might be good, but it's not going to do anything to the Weezing since it's resisted. And then as we've seen, Poison Jab only does, like, was that like 30%, something like that? Does go for the U-turn. That's what it's supposed to look like, even on a resisted hit. That's what Beedrill loves to do. It loves those huge hits. But now, who comes in? If we do have a Stone Edge Dracovish, there might be a chance that it could do some damage here. I think it really depends. I mean, if she'd gone for Poison Jab, she may have been able to take out that Tornadus right there, but she can't really take that risk because Hurricanes will do a huge amount of damage to Beedrill. So yeah, Cheryl's in a rough spot right here. She's really got to make her picks correctly, but all that's left on her team, she has no more support. It is all offense now. It's it's really a tough spot. She's got to find some way that she can break through Evan's team, because he's just cycling between 3 semi-wall Pokemon and not doing much. Vish does get hit, does take some big damage, but now what do? We know that Neutralizing Gas will stop the Arctovish. Does come in, does take the Stone Edge, does have an item to reduce that damage. And as we saw, so that Charty Berry took half damage, so that's 18%. It would have done about 36% at full damage, so 1/3, even doubled for crit. That's not going to be enough to, I mean, from this point, unless that was a low roll at 18%, she would have to crit on this next attack to not get freeze-dried and killed instantly. It is also Stone Miss, only 80% accurate. It can definitely miss, and it definitely has a history of missing when it matters most in this league. So this Freeze Dry does come out. Scizor does not really care about it, but it does get frozen. Evan is at a huge advantage now. This is a big win for him on that. Oh, it is very rough. This Pokemon is very sorry, as we see. But that big freeze, this battle has turned even further in the downside for Cheryl. It is not looking great. She is at... she's having a really rough time. It hasn't even been hacks. I mean, this is a little bit of hacks, but most of it has just been that Neutralizing Gas has been a huge ability, stopping Cheryl from throwing out a lot of big damage. Because, I mean, without Neutralizing Gas, Beedrill could almost certainly... 2-hit KO, if not 1-hit KO, Weezing, depending on its build. But without that adaptability boost, it's not hitting anywhere near as hard as it is used to hitting. And that big freeze right there is just not a great place to be in. So Cheryl's really going to have to fight here. She may have to fight to even get 1 KO for this fight. And Aegislash can now come out. I mean, I think Cheryl can just throw down knockoffs here. I'm almost certain that Evan is going to King Shield right here. Almost certain. There's no reason not to. It's kind of scummy, but you're fishing for attacks at this point. See if it's got knockoff. We know Bullet Punch. We know Swords Dance. I think we saw U-turn. Maybe we saw knockoff before. Maybe it was the knockoff that took the item away from the Grimmsnarl. I don't remember whose knockoff that was, but she's in a really tough spot. She could go for a knockoff, she could go for a Swords Dance, but actually behind a Reflect, unless this is a special Aegislash, I think she can probably take in a hit. Yeah, Scizor, it's got pretty good defenses, so, and with Steel typing, it's going to take at best neutral damage from the Aegislash, so it's a very hard spot. Oh, I guess the battle's been going on long enough. I have to restart the battle music. Let's kick that back up. So let's see what they go for here. A big knockoff, especially if it does not King Shield, could be pretty huge. Probably not going to one-hit KO, but is definitely going to hurt the Aegislash. It does not want to take attacks. Knockoff does come out, and it is even a... Wow. Even through the Colbur Berry, that did 60%. So, we see Swords Dance set, so it could be Swords Dance King Shield. But that thing, as we saw, it is slower, and it will not take another one of these because the Chople Berry did reduce that damage by half because it does proc Berry before knockoff damage. So you take less damage from a Chople Berry knockoff than you do from a no item Chople Berry or no item knockoff. So definitely a really tough spot to be in for Evan right now. Cheryl finally has a little bit of an edge, not much of one, but a little bit of an edge. Swords Dance from both sides is very dangerous for the for the Weedles as well, because Aegislash, there is still one turn of Reflect, so even with the Swords Dance, that damage is being halved, which equals out to basically a non-reflected attack coming out of Aegislash. So that Reflect may end up helping Cheryl get at least one KO. He does King Shield, which makes sense. Ooh, but Cheryl predicts it and goes for the Roost. And since he cannot King Shield unless he wants to take that 30% gamble, there's a big knockoff coming from the Scizor this turn. So nobody's really going to like that. I think even at ×2, Weezing probably takes at least 2 bullet punches. So Cheryl has, with a nice prediction there, she's brought herself a nice step forward. And this is a nice riposte to all of the vicious attacks that Evan's team has thrown down. So right here we know, unless he goes for that 30% chance of getting a second Protect in a row, here's a big knockoff coming into somebody. I mean, things like Grimmsnarl can come in, Weezing can come in, they're going to resist it. So there are those options, but at the same time, do you want them in against a +2 Scizor? This thing loves getting Swords Dances off and doing big chunks of damage to whoever is in front of it. And he does sacrifice, but at full health, I don't think Doug Trio can even revenge kill here. Unless it is a Z move, I don't think it one-shots Scizor. So, at this point, it could be a sacrifice of something. We know Arctovish can't do too much to Scizor unless it has Scald and maybe goes for a burn. But this Scizor right here is huge. So Galarian Weezing does Neutralizing Gas, so it does block his Technician ability. But we know it has Will-O-Wisp. And especially with that 20 more base power not being given to Bullet Punch, I don't think this will kill it from this range. If it were at 50%, I would say it's definitely a possibility, but at 75, I don't think that this is going to pick up the KO. There is the 15% chance that Will-O-Wisp will miss, but I don't think Cheryl takes that risk. The Bullet Punch does not KO. The Will-O-Wisp does connect. So, at ×2 attack and halved attack from the burn, it's looking rough. I think she could Swords Dance again and still be alright with a 50% boost. She could absolutely Swords Dance again, unless this is a Flamethrower Weezing, which it may well be. She almost certainly kills with the Bullet Punch right here. So she's not out of this. She's definitely in a very good position. So the fight is still on, and losing a huge offensive threat in Aegislash. I think Evan's he actually is in a bit of trouble now, because I don't think anything, unless she has Flamethrower or Heat Wave. I don't think she has Heat Wave on Tornadus. Tornadus does come in. A Swords Dance does come up. I'm going to hover over this really quick to see if we've seen 4 moves. We have seen 4 moves. So, I mean, it will be faster. It can throw it on a superpower for some big damage. Bullet Punch does go off. Does nice chunk. That goes out. It hurts a whole lot. But we know another Bullet Punch here does kill. So Bird is not free to do what it pleases. So this may be... a Doug Trio could come in. It can, at this point now, almost certainly KO the Scizor. So we might get 2 KOs out of the Weedles. We'll see. Yeah, right here, it's almost certain that she will Bullet Punch again, because otherwise, I mean, she's got 2 choices. She can play the accuracy game and hope that that 30% chance to miss on Hurricane does go for her, and she could roost and be back at full health, and then, or not full health, but more than 50% health, which means she will possibly survive a Doug Trio. It does also, if it is a choice item, we don't really know. But yeah, she's still in a decent spot. As we've seen, she can KO the Tornadus right here. Galarian Weezing does come in, and Bullet Punch will take it out. But now it is at low health, so it can be revenge killed. Since it cannot switch out, it will be slower than Doug Trio. I think we almost certainly see it come in here, because nothing can switch into an Earthquake. But she did pick up a second KO, possibly on a crit. As long as it's not Focus Sash, she could, I think it's possible, as the way things calculate between the burn and the attack boost, she's at a 50% attack boost, so it will be Technician boosted against Doug Trio, and with a possible critical hit, I mean, it's only 4% chance, but possibility of a critical hit could definitely take out Doug Trio. It is not a super bulky Pokemon. And that would definitely put her in a very winnable position, because Beedrill can take out a lot of things. I mean, she's actually looking pretty good now. Beedrill will no longer be neutralized for its ability, so as long as she can outspeed things, she can likely take big chunks out of Evan's team. So, especially, I think before we saw this did on a burn about 70%. It does not KO. Super Power does come out, does kill. So I think this is a pretty free Beedrill turn. Yep, because we know this U-turn will kill it if it stays in. And a superpower won't do anything, so if it is Choice Scarfed, it really can't do anything. But she still cannot bring in the Dracovish for free, because Arctovish does still exist. So at this point, she's either got to get some nice crits onto... Actually, no. At this point, if she can get rid of Doug Trio and get Dracovish in, Stone Edges should probably be able to finish off the rest of the team. So yeah, I think she's got a pretty free turn. I mean, a U-turn will definitely kill the Tornadus. It'll take a nice big fat chunk out of Doug Trio. Doug Trio will resist a Poison Jab if it does come out. Poison Jab does come out and kill. So he has another chance here to, so now, okay, Doug Trio does come out. It is likely Choice Scarfed, just to make sure they can outspeed Beedrill, and an Earthquake will most likely kill, because Beedrill is not all that bulky. And by not all that bulky, I mean it is very not bulky. But there is a possibility, since it'll only be neutral damage, it might just survive, but in that case, I don't think it can one-hit KO. It might be able to U-turn. But even then, Dracovish with a Choice Scarf is not faster than a Choice Scarf Doug Trio. So this thing is, if Choice Scarf going to be outspeeding, it is Choice Scarf does pick up the KO. So I think this is curtains for the match, because it's obviously Choice Scarfed. Dracovish, even if it's Choice Scarfed, Earthquake's not going to miss. I think this is going to be the game right here. But when things were looking pretty grim at a 3-0, Cheryl was able to bring it back and get 3 big KOs. So she's never going down without a fight. But that is going to be a big win for the Sneasels. Let me see if we can get Evan in to a call, see what his words are, and see if he was sweating in the back half of that match when Cheryl was back with a fierce vengeance ready to kick some Krev. But big battle there. Definitely a lot of huge threats. The ability to trap, the ability to use neutralizing gas, the ability to use King Shield. All things you don't want to go up against. But let's give Evan a ring and get him in this call. All right. Ring, ring, ring. Turn that music down a little bit so we make sure we can hear him. Hello, Evan. Oh, you're so quiet. Let me turn you up. All right. Let's see. How are you sounding?
How am I sounding?
Oh, you're sounding good. Well, it sounds like you moved closer to your microphone.
I don't have a mic plugged in. I'm just using. Let me change. 1 moment.
Okay. I mean, you're good. You're good.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. So, that one. How were you feeling in that back about third of the match when Cheryl started picking up those KOs? Had those 2 swords dances off. Seemed like that might have been the time to start sweating if ever there was one in the match.
What's up?
So in the back about third of the match when Cheryl got that swords dance off and showed that she could pretty handily deal with your Aegislash, how were you feeling right then?
That was the scariest point of the match. I knew it was going to KO on the knockoff, so I had to decide, do I try to save the Aegislash for something later, or do I rinse and repeat? I decided to sack the Aegislash there. I think that was the right call. It allowed me to go out to Dimmadome with neutralizing gas. The both punch didn't. I could get the burn off, and I was calcing a few turns ahead. If Cheryl got to, I would actually really like to know what the Scizor spread was, because Grimmsnarl was speed creeping the Scizor, assuming it was not speed invested.
Oh, there you go.
A prankster reflect, so I would have burn and reflect against potentially +6 Scizor.
That's fair, yeah. You definitely want to reduce that damage coming out of a Technician Scizor as much as you can, even though Technician was neutralized by the huge neutralizing gas this week.
Oh, yeah.
It proved extremely valuable.
Being able to come in on B-Drill and not fear that adaptability damage was huge.
Yeah, it only took about a third from that poison jab it switched into.
Yep. And on top of that, it was a max HP, max defense set, so even a drill run was going to be doing less than, it was around 40%, I believe.
So either way, it didn't really matter what attack it was choosing. Both of them weren't going to do enough to hit KO, and you could easily burn it in return.
Exactly.
But
it kind of filled the role that my Aegislash, or that my Colossal usually does, which is the beefy harasser that eats turns and slows the game down.
Absolutely. And we did see the Arctovish show up for its premiere week to fight its brother.
My apologies, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So my apologies, and I'm sorry.
Yep, I was a little sad it didn't get to do more, but it did get a freeze on the freeze dry.
It did. It was a 1-turn freeze, or I guess a 0-turn freeze, but still freeze.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't 0-turn freeze. I was going to feel really bad because freeze dry was obviously not brought for that reason.
No, it's brought for the one of the 3 weaknesses of Dracovish: Fairy, Dragon, and freeze dry.
That's right, freeze dry. Freeze dry was guaranteed to KO, and as you guys saw with the Charty Berry, I was guaranteed to be able to come in on Stone Edge, take the Stone Edge, then take a full damage Stone Edge, survive, and freeze dry back.
Yeah, that was seeing it only did about 18%. That's a big eat on that coming out of a Dracovish.
Right, and that told me that it wasn't banded, because I was calced to be able to survive banded Stone Edge into Stone Edge, and I was definitely a par for Dracovish.
Yeah, and we did see you hold off that Doug Trio until the bitter end, making sure that you didn't lose him and his revenge killing potential.
Yeah, he actually served a different role than I had expected. He was originally there for Excadrill and Nidoking, but with neither of those things brought, I ended up changing his usage a little bit, seeing that I needed to wait for Beedrill to kill something so I could revenge that, and then being able to just clean off Aegislash was just icing on the cake. Or not Aegislash, saying that name. The Dracovish.
Yeah.
He was a really OP Pokemon.
But yeah, definitely it makes sense that you would want to bring that Doug Trio because Excadrill and Nidoking, unless they're running Shed Shell, which they don't really want to, both of them easily get revenge killed by a Choice Scarf Doug Trio.
Right. And I'm willing to let people just try to run Shed Shell against me all the time. Like, if you want to invest an item on that,
Yeah.
that's a win for me anyway, even if you escape.
Yeah, because then, unless they have something that's levitate or flying type, you still got to bring something into an earthquake.
That's right.
But a huge match there. It looked like the tide may have turned in the back half, but you kept it together. You kept the right things alive, made the right picks, and were able to pick up that 3-6 victory in the end.
Definitely. Slight regret that the early part of the match was just exchanging screens for about 15 turns. I'm sure that wasn't the most exciting thing to watch in the beginning.
Hey, sometimes that's what you got to go with.
Yeah.
To give yourself that advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, you do go up against the Great Wall. How are you feeling about that?
Last time I faced the Great Wall, I had to get away with some cheeky Rotom tech to be able to break through that Venusaur. I can't do that same thing twice, so I'll have to come up with something else this week.
Well, good luck to you. Thank you for joining me. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We will talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, that is going to be our Week 9 match. A huge match, a long match, but definitely worth the wait. It was a very good one to watch, and Cheryl showed that she is not going down without a fight, no matter what the situation looks like for her. So we're going to call it there. Thank you for joining me. The usual streamer YouTuber thing, hit the buttons and do the things. Check out Twitter so that you know when we're going live. But otherwise, thank you for joining me, and I will play you out with our theme.